I would love to know where did this journey start for you? How did this thing get going? Take us back as far as you like.
Yeah. Um, the Disney movies, the classic Glen Keane Disney movies were really influential for me, and not in like in a subliminal way. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Little Mermaid, Tarzan, like those really, really well drawn traditional 2D animated movies. Um, were so I loved the good drawing, and I thought, man, if I could draw like that, that'd be it. I just want to be able to draw like that. Um, and then Calvin Hobbes, actually, I discovered Calvin and Hobbes around the same time, and those drawings, man, and the
Bill Watterson, man, was what a genius, right?
oh, I love that guy so much. I want so bad. Like one of my huge life goals is to meet him. Like he's plein air painting apparently, has been for 10 years. And I'm like, Bill, take
Are
my Bill, take my workshop. Please come take my workshop.
are you kidding me? He's out there playing air painting.
That's yeah, as far as as far as I've
Yeah,
been able to stalk and figure it out, he's just doing, art, whatever. He's
yeah,
making paintings sometimes.
yeah.
And in
That's
fact,
interesting. Oh,
he
sorry, go
said
on.
something super powerful in an interview
Hmm.
about that is that and we could talk about this later. There's so
Hmm.
much to talk about, but um he like for Calvin and Hobbes, he had a limited format. He had a limited he could use pen and ink. It had to be this big, and it had to be like every single day. Sunday it got this big, and he had a little bit more creative freedom, but the constraints were still really defined,
Hmm.
really, really set.
Hmm.
And that enhanced his creativity in an enormous way. Like that was a huge, that's why he was able to create something so magnificent is the
Wow.
restraint. And so he
Yeah.
talked about like becoming a fine artist and
Hmm.
being going, I could paint 6 inches by 6 inches and 60 feet by 60 feet in acrylic or oil. I could do it in pencil. I could do mixed medium. Like the 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 sheer freedom is handicapping. It's horrible. I don't know what to do. I'm totally at a loss of what to do, is what he said. Like, and so his creativity plummeted to where like this genius of a man who made this beautiful thing for us, or I would even say someone through who God was able to send a beautiful thing into the world, like this vessel, has
Wow.
been maybe less of a vessel because he hasn't had any constraint. And it's what we kick against as artists. It's like, I don't want any, I need my freedom. I need my freedom as an artist. But I've thought a ton about that the past couple of years is giving myself um, self imposed restrictions like
Mm.
time, even like a deadline or a size restraint or a medium restraint or a subject restraint, something to help me be productive and creative because total freedom um, can be really bad, really crippling.
That's so interesting. I totally see it now. And from what you're saying about that Bill Watterson quote, the one thing though, you know, that made Bill Watterson a genius in my mind, it wasn't just the art, but it was his understanding and ability to tap into childhood and capture the essence of this young boy who was very much a loner, very mischievous, so, and a loner to the extent that he had this imaginary friend Hobbes, right? And was able to tap into something that so many of us weird art kids could identify with. And I like Calvin for me became a friend in a way. I still have my stack of Calvin and Hobbes books. Scientific Progress goes boink. Yukon Ho, the 10th anniversary collection, which is now decades old. And the Lazy Sunday book. All these different, the authoritative Calvin. Like I've got these compilation books. And Rachel, my wife, pulled them out the other day. We were reorganizing the bookshelf. She's like, "What are we going to do with these? Do you want to give these to Goodwill?" I'm like, "No, these are my Calvin and Hobbes books. Are you kidding me?" When my son is old enough, I want him to start reading Calvin and Hobbes. But it was Watterson's ability to really get into that mind of this 6-year-old boy and the adventures, and how he would make this commentary on culture, society, but do it in a crippling, funny way. Like some of them, you're reading these, and they're just hilarious. But he just hits the friggin' nail on the head. So he's got, they're incredibly deep, some of them, but then he's got the humor and he's got the art, and it's like it's this flash. And I like what you said about, maybe it is a gift from God. I tend to think that way, but it's so cool that he's been an influence for you too. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're so right. It was because a good drawing's a good drawing. There's a lot of guys that can draw well, right?
Mm.
But
Yeah.
and this is a good lesson for fine artists, like a huge lesson for me as an
Mm.
artist. That like an aesthetically pleasing thing is not the end goal. Like that's not good enough, right? Like a
Mm.
ton of guys can make a good drawing. Calvin and Hobbes was transcendent because it had all that. Like aesthetically, it was delightful. I love still looking at it. I love his line. I love the way he grows as an artist over the course of the strip, right?
Oh yeah.
I love when he'll attack. Like he would do those for a compilation for a book. He would do that first 10 pages of like a story that was special with watercolor and big elaborate drawings. Do you remember some of those in the beginning of
Yeah.
those books?
Yeah.
So he had all of that, like the beauty, the actual craft, but the content was what, and it's still amazing to me that as like an 8-year old or a 10-year old, I could laugh at the jokes and I could relate to it. And if I'd sit on like the floor on a Sunday afternoon with the sun pouring through a window and just go through my Calvin Hobbes books. Um, and then as I got older, they were still engaging and they were deeper than I'd ever thought before. And I came to know, I feel like I know Bill Watterson. I feel like fans are the same way. We feel like we know Bill Watterson. We know how he thinks, we know how he feels. You get this sense of him through the work. Um, so anyway, if our paintings don't have that as well, if they don't have that sense of us, if there's not a deeper content that's relatable that people can grasp and hold on to, then it doesn't matter how pretty it is, how beautiful on the surface it is. It won't go where art with a capital A was meant to go.